The PC gave us computing power at home, the internet connected us, and mobile let us do it pretty much anywhere. Now generative AI lets us communicate with technology in our own language using our own senses. But figuring it all out when you're living through it is a totally different story. Welcome to Leading the Shift, a new podcast from Microsoft Azure. I'm your host, Susan Ettlinger. In each episode, leaders will share what they're learning to help you navigate all this change with confidence. Please join us. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can even finish the bachelor's degree you started in 22 months for $20,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
Imagine that this line represents a time, present 1985, future, past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate to you, me, and Einstein. Look, reality for everyone else.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready to get this started?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Jake, do you want to bring us in one last time?
Nope.
Oh. Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we're going to say a final goodbye to one of the co-hosts. I don't know what today's going to bring, but for sure, it will bring a goodbye. Before we do that, before we start that whole thing, let's go ahead and say hello to old I tap on my couch, looking all cool and stuff. Dapper, if you will. Jeffrey. What's up, Jeffrey?
What up?
That's it, huh? Fucking such an asshole,
man.
dude.
What up, bro? Same shit, different weekend. You know.
Love him. All right, moving on. That was great.
Fucking life story. I went to work all week. My
Thanks,
neck
man.
hurts.
My neck hurts too.
I fucking didn't do shit this weekend because my neck hurts. Still poor as fuck.
He's a poor.
You know.
Thanks. Appreciate that. It's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Jake. Floor is yours, bud. How's it going?
I also have a hurt neck. I pulled a muscle somehow, being existing, I think, is how I did it. Finally busted out the lawnmower, which I left gas in it all winter long. So now it really runs rough. It's just like, it's just constantly fluctuating. I'm like, yeah, that might have killed it. Throw some sea foam in it. We'll see what happens. I was gone last weekend because I was flying home to California to see my family and to go to my grandmother's funeral. It was nice. And I know we made the joke a couple episodes back that every other plane crashes. Well, I was on the ones that didn't crash. So that was good. Although I didn't enjoy the experience at all. I really don't like flying, being in a metal tube, just waiting for something to go horribly awry. So, but I survived. I'm back and got a bunch of yard work to do tomorrow. And I don't think I'm going to do it because I'm lazy. But yeah.
I also have a bunch of yard work I got to do tomorrow, but I'm going to do it because I want to. It'll be my second mow of the year.
Nice.
I got a yard guy.
Oh. Well,
Now
we have
now it will suck.
property, so I mean,
Yeah, I'm
There's
just
that.
renting. I just rent. I'm poor, like I said earlier.
yeah, you're poor. Yeah.
All right, man. So the title of the episode, I'm sure, is going to revolve around this. I'm sure we'll get into some other topics as the
Feet?
night goes. But you're leaving us, bud.
I am
You're chucking
for good this time.
chucking deuces, and unlike the last 20 times,
Yeah.
you're doing it in front of the live crowd.
Well, see, the whole thing is, I think every 6 months, I'm just going to announce my departure, and it will drum up, listens to that episode, and then it'll start tapering back down. It's like, all right, it's getting a little bit, getting kind of light in the listens. It's like, all right, I guess I'll leave again, type stuff. And so I'll just keep repeating the same cycle to just kind of, it's like when you see those fake celebrity news things that someone died and then everyone's freaking out on Twitter and then it finds out it's complete BS. It'd be like that. Yeah, I've been having somewhat of a, I had to look up this word before we started to make sure I was using it right, that it meant what I thought it meant. I've been having an existential crisis. And it's kind of like, I've been really struggling in the mental health department lately, like really bad. And in that, kind of like trying to figure out what the heck's wrong with me sort of thing. I'm like, well, I'm completely stagnant in my relationship with God, and that's probably a big one. Like, when I was in Southern California, me and Whitney did we had a couple things going on throughout the week. We were doing Bible studies and things like that, and more than just the, weekly church attendance. And I was in a very good spot. And since we moved to Wisconsin, I mean, we're completely detached from our church family and all that sort of stuff. And I just really miss that. And, I talked to Jeremy off air a few weeks ago, and we had finally found a Bible study that works for our schedules. And that just so happens to be 8 p.m. on Sundays. So it would be, I told him, I was like, hey, I want to do both, but if one's going to take precedent over the other, it's going to be my walk with Christ instead of, talking about paranormal stuff on a live stream. And Jeremy's pretty supportive. And so, he knows about a lot of the stuff I've been struggling with lately. And, he's totally down for it. He wants to see me better. I certainly want to be better. But yeah, I kind of had to make a tough choice was, what's more important to me. And, it's that. It's my relationship with God, and that affects my relationship with my wife and my ability to hold myself together at work, and all these sorts of things kind of disseminate down from that. And that has been incredibly lacking. I feel like, I'm just not in a good space. And it's led me to doing things like drinking excessively and, kind of acting out a little bit. And so definitely some things need to change. And this is the first step. Now, that's not to say that I'm not going to be around. Jeff was talking about me being on shadow band, every so often or whatever. I'm totally down for that. If you guys go to Elmwood, I'll still be there. I don't want to bail on Jeremy for that because I know he's going to be really busy for that. So I need someone to man the booth. So I'll be there. For Elmwood. And so Kenzer's actually going to be there too. So she's going to be flying out and staying in me and Whitney's guest area downstairs. So so I'll still be picking her up from the airport and stuff. I'm not going to be like, well, deuces, sucks to be you guys, type stuff. But my presence on the podcast for the most part won't be around anymore. But I'm hoping that, through this process and through this next step that I'll get back to the things that, are really more important to me than anything else. So hopefully I'll be a more well-rounded and less anxious, less stressed out and pissed off sort of person. That's the goal anyway. But yeah, it's weird. You know, I certainly the last time it was more along the lines of I wanted to start going to school, and maybe that was going through like a ministry type thing, and then just didn't work out. You know, the timing was all off, and I came back. But I put a lot of time into this, you know, making all the merch for the store and a lot of editing back before Jeremy got on Riverside, and it just became just a boop, 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 and it's done type stuff. You know, used to spend a week editing episodes and stuff like that, working on the music and everything. So it's certainly going to be a different change, but I don't think it's really a secret that I've been very detached from the show lately, you know, not really interested in doing much of anything. And, you know, I don't want to continue that line of behavior. Jeremy doesn't deserve it. Jeff doesn't deserve it. And whoever else, if they get, you know, guests on or whatever, they don't need to have someone that's just kind of jaded and just like, I would rather be doing anything else besides this, you know, type stuff. Like we get from Jeff most of the time when we're talking about cryptids or whatever. But yeah, so I'm going to announce my departure like this is an airport and go on and skedaddle and hopefully not get into anything too crazy like drugs or something, you know, but we'll see. You know, there's no river on Earth that's long enough that doesn't contain a bend somewhere. So, but hopefully that bend doesn't lead into like heroin, you know, so we'll see.
Jeez, man.
I'm saying I won't, or I'll try not.
No, Skeeter, I will not be up there.
It's messed up, man.
Yeah, Jeff doesn't want to come because he's scared of flying.
It's actually more my fault.
It's actually because I told you guys I was not coming back until you came here because I made the last trip and you guys failed to make the trip in a whole year. So
you said it's because you're scared of flying. You're a big wiener.
Out of integrity, and I'm an honest man, and I stick by my word. My word stands. I will not come back up until you guys come down.
But what event would we come to down there? You came up here for an event, not just to hang out.
Doesn't fucking matter.
Yes, it does. Because otherwise, it's just what are we gonna do? Sit around and watch you smoke weed, and we're just gonna be like, okay.
Yep.
But I do.
You smoke weed with me, bro. We'll go fishing.
I can't do that. Not only can I not because of my job, but I can't because I don't want to have another problem. Trust me, I don't want to find out that I really like it and be like, well, another thing I got to deal with.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I haven't actually smoked weed in months.
Just edibles?
No, I smoke these pens that you can get from the vape store, not even the weed store. They're just disposable, like legal, no card required pens. So that's like when I was actively in AA and I knew people that were like, yeah, I've been, you know, I'm dead clean sober, but I smoke weed all the time. I'm like, well, then you're not sober. That's California sober. That's what that is.
That was in like Virginia. They're like, yeah, you know, I've been sober for 3 years and I smoke weed every day. I'm like, you're not sober then. I don't have to tell you.
That's called California sober. And by the way, nobody you know is sober. Every single person you know drinks caffeine or takes some sort of
there's a level of sobriety.
Yeah.
It's away from substances. Yes.
I didn't realize
substances.
I didn't realize that natural God fucking birthing plants were substances. You know, it's not like cocaine where you have to like manufacture the shit out of a plant. It just is.
What about poppies?
I like my drugs unprocessed.
Is that not a substance?
There's still a manufacturing process in order to turn
drying it out or some crap
into heroin. I don't know if you can say the word. I don't want to say the word, you know, and get banned off Twitch.
I already said the other words, so I mean, if we're not banned off Twitch, I'm gonna train wreck the show and get us banned off Twitch on my last episode by saying the big H word.
Great.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, man.
If I can't have this, no one will.
What's the H word? Holocaust?
No, heroin. Say it again for the robots listening in.
Awesome. This is great. This is gonna be good. All right. Well, if for some reason we just stop midstream on Twitch, we're live on YouTube and X2.
YouTube would kick us off before.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Twitch.
Hopefully, I don't start loading a magazine in front of the camera. Then
Don't worry,
we'll
we can
definitely be banned on YouTube.
we can always go live on X. They'll never ban us there. So
Well,
I'm surprised this show hasn't swapped over to Rumble yet.
I don't even know what that is.
it will after this episode gets banned on everything else.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, all right, cool. All right, so Jake is gone. He's leaving us.
Yep. Bye. All right. Get
Yeah,
out
we
of
got,
this thing.
we got that part.
All right. With that being said, it'll be Jeff and I. We talked a little bit the other night. Had a little mini.
Don't forget about Frank.
I mean, there's Frank
And
too,
Crystal.
but Frank doesn't do shit. Crystal still doesn't even have a mic.
Chris doesn't do shit either.
Jeff and I had a mini meeting over text where I laid out some game plans that I had, and for the most part, Jeff approved.
I'm already kicked out of the meetings, man. That's bullshit.
Yeah, man. Well, you said you were done,
Oh yeah,
So-
that's true.
so
I
was
forgot
like,
about that part.
I'm not gonna even bother
Yeah.
you with any of it anymore.
Yeah, even if you text me, I swear to you, if you text me and you say, "Hey man, so the show," I'm just gonna block your number, and be like, "I don't care. I'm not even a fan. I don't even listen to it."
Like, hey man, you want to come over for some smoked meats?
I'm like, "You're just trying to get me to listen to your BS about the show. I'm out."
Like, you got me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he did.
All right, what
did.
did you guys talk about?
No, we just talked about long-term plans for the show. And this is going to be kind of a softer episode. It's not going to have any real juice to it other than just plans. So if you're just a fan of the general show, I guess this would be good for you because you're going to learn a little bit about what's going to happen underneath the sheets of the bed that Jeff and I are laying in.
Okay, that was
Whoa.
Yeah,
And
Jake's
you
out.
guys like lock your mustaches together like Velcro, and like
do.
you have to
We
peel it apart.
do. See our beards. Our beards get tied together.
we definitely don't do that. We don't do that.
Dude, don't do that to me.
They're
We
doing
don't-
naked pillow
We've
fights
never
over there.
done that. We've never even discussed doing that.
That's true. We've
That's
actually
not what happened when you came to Elmwood.
That is not what
I
happened.
walked in on Jeremy and Jeff, butt naked, greased up, with their beards locked together. It was crazy. And I was like, "What are you guys doing in here?" They're like, drugs." And I was like, "Mm-hmm."
I can't even play along anymore, man. I can't. I tried to make Jeff feel uncomfortable. I can't do it. No, all right. So basically the gist is spent a long time working with some outside sources, evaluating the infinite rabbit hole, trying to get to the bottom of what's wrong with the show. Found some things that could use improvement, and through that, figured that the best are basically the real issues with the show when it comes to an analytical standpoint
Is Jake.
is Jake, but we've already passed that. That's gone, so that we don't have to worry about that anymore. Numbers will be up just from that. I'm just kidding, Jake. Calm down.
Wow. I feel so loved.
I'm just kidding. But basically, because of all the changes that happen with the personnel and stuff, and it's kind of just funny that it's happening like this. There's been so many format changes with the Infinite Rabbit Hole that the problem with us is that we're inconsistent with our episode types. And you can come back every week and hear a new episode, and then hear a span of 4 to 8 weeks of a certain type of episode, and then all of a sudden get switched up into a new type. And we lose listeners like that because people get excited, they start listening and start getting into a flow of listening to a certain type of episode, and then all of a sudden, bam, new type of episode hits or gets switched into an old type of episode. And basically inconsistency is what we're struggling with. So basically the gist is Infinite Rabbit Hole is going to start aiming for consistency on this particular platform. And that's where the whole big movement for the news show is coming from, because I really do love doing the documentaries. It's been a long time since I put one out. I have a ton of things written up, ready to go, and I've been itching to do it. But if I put them out on Infinite Rabbit Hole, then it's just introducing documentaries back into the mix and just creating that grab bag of different types of episodes that are just going to turn certain people off of the podcast, people who come here just to listen to us chat. So Infinite Rabbit Hole is going to be a chatting podcast now. Just going to be us BSing. We'll have guests on. We'll talk, bring up random topics, just kind of be, well, Jeff and I now. We did discuss the possibility of opening up to a third co-host. It's not concrete that we're going to. It's not concrete that we're not. We're going to keep the possibility open for a co-host to come in. But we're not going to go out of our way to find one right now. We're going to see how the 2-person format works out for a little while. See if we can get enough of different opinions to still keep the Infinite Rabbit Hole being the Infinite Rabbit Hole. If not, then we may have to get a little bit more aggressive with trying to find somebody with a new opinion that already has.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at vanta.com.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
As a good setup, that's podcast ready, with a good personality and good insight and good knowledge on these topics, with a varying viewpoint than Jeff and I. But for the time being, it's just going to be Jeff and myself talking with guests, bullshitting, hanging back, and talking about random episodes. That's why the last couple months, you've been getting just these grab bag episodes of random topics. That's Infinite Rabbit Hole becoming more consistent in what it's offering the listeners. And then think of anything that Infinite Rabbit Hole has ever done when it comes to news episodes. We're even talking about possibly splitting into a completely different show at some point down the road, possibly doing a seasonal format interview show where we talk to bigger names, if we can get it together. 10 episodes at a time. There's a bunch of different things that we can do that we've done here on the Infinite Rabbit Hole that we've gotten good feedback from, but have never been consistent enough to really see what the outcome would be with a consistent episode drop schedule, because we've always just kind of changed it up too fast. So that's basically the gist of where we're at with the Infinite Rabbit Hole right now. So with the announcement with Jay leaving, I felt it was a good time to kind of just make the announcement. Like, this is what you're going to get from the Infinite Rabbit Hole. You're going to get consistency. And anytime that I feel like I want to change it up, I'm just going to create a new podcast. That's going to be the gist. Like Jake had said, whenever we move to Riverside, that's our hosting platform now. Editing, posting, basically the entire process is very easy and streamlined. So production or post-production is very simple. And I want to keep it that way. The documentary episodes are still going to be, it's still going to be pretty tough. Because those are going to require a lot of editing, a lot of downtime, a lot of intricate, detailed work to make them sound good. For those of you that did end up hearing the John Teeter episode, that was my dry run for how I'm going to do this new podcast. So for those of you that did subscribe to the Patreon, or bought the episode, the single episode through the Patreon or through Spotify, that's what it's gonna sound like. It's gonna be fresh, clean, nice music in the background, dramatics, all that good stuff. Yeah, not much else to say. Skeeter had made a mention here in the comments about making an IRH network. That's pretty much the gist of what we're talking about. Pretty much it. That's it. Jeffrey, anything else to add? Of course not. Clapping.
Bro, I've been telling you to do exactly that for like 3.5, 4 years. So
yeah.
Well, if he does it and it fails, then we'll know who to blame.
Jeremy.
So
That's
it's
right.
all
That's
on
right.
me, bro.
Yeah.
It's my fault.
Yeah. And we'll send Jeff a bill for all the stuff we ever bought for Infinite Rabbit Hole and be like, thanks.
Yeah. So that's it. There could be a plethora of shows popping up, all with different formats that you've seen on the Infinite Rabbit Hole. First up, like I said, being the documentary podcast that's now been rebranded as the Infinite Rabbit Hole Archives. Right now, we're about a month and a half away from dropping the first episodes, and I'm still debating on format. Not going to get too far into that. We'll leave that to be a surprise. But basically, I have the whole first season done. It's going to be a 10-episode season. It's looking like. And I just have to knock out some of the details and make sure that I'm not setting myself up for failure for season 2. Make sure I have enough time to get editing and research and writing done in time for season 2. If not, I may have to adjust and make sure that I'm not overloading myself with too much work. So I might have to adjust some things to kind of make it fit. Because originally it was going to be a weekly show. It has, I hate to say it is going to be a bi-weekly show. So every other week. Yep. It has to. There's no way around it.
Sure.
I just won't be able to stay up with it if I do a weekly show. So, and then shortly after that, I'm hoping sometime early 2026 we get the interview show going, and then I want to work on possibly even getting a news show going. Which if you guys remember a few months ago, I fooled around with the IRH news hour or the lunch hour, and that was the dry run for that idea. And that's literally the format for the news show that I want to do, which is just going to be, it's going to be a random show every couple days where I just jump on at noon and do a live show for 20 to 30 minutes, talk about what's going on in the world. And that's it.
Sick.
So I got a lot of stuff coming up. Just need some time to get it all together. All while I'm writing a book. Which I had an interview with an editor the other day. Or a meeting. And that was really cool. That was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had a meeting with a black bear. That was not very cool.
Oh, yes. Tell us about the bears.
So last weekend I was in California. The weekend prior, it was like 9 p.m., almost 9 p.m. We were going over to our neighbor's house to do a fire pit. And our dogs started freaking out. And Whitney's like, Jake, can you go outside and see what they're barking at? And I was like, yeah, I'm sure it's like leaves or something, right? Because they're always barking at everything. So I go through the door and I close the door and I turn around and I'm 10 feet away from the biggest black bear I've ever seen, right at the bottom of the steps. And there's another adult on the lawn and 3 cubs. And I was like, oh, crap. And so I go inside the house and I close the door. I'm like, Whitney, there's bears everywhere out there. And she goes and presses her face up on the glass. She's like, I can't see them. And I was like, look for the black blobs, Whitney, because it was like getting dark, right? And she was like, oh, my gosh, they're everywhere. And they started running. So we had to frantically call our neighbors who were having a get together outside their house and say, hey, there's 5 bears running towards your house right now. And I mean, next day was as to be expected. Whitney's bird feeder was crushed on the ground, and our beehive, our bee box, which had been up for a total of 24 hours, was smashed to bits, and frames were everywhere, and there wasn't even any honey in there. Fortunately, the bees were still in there, or at least hiding, and so underneath the stand I built for them. So I was able to reassemble the bee box, put my bee suit on, and scrape them off the bottom and kind of like deposit them in front of their box so they could go back inside. Next day, same thing. Frames are everywhere. Boxes on its, tipped over on its top. Bees are completely gone. And I was like, well, that was a fun endeavor. So we just got it's been 2 weeks. And so I think that's enough time, maybe. So we just got a new bee or a bird feeder out there for Whitney. And I actually ran into a beekeeper when I was traveling in one of the restaurants I stopped at. And he was like, oh, wow, did you, excuse me. He's like, did you have an electric bear fence up? And I was like, no. He's like, well, that's a mistake. Bet you will now. Like, yep. So I'll be, before we go get our next pack of bees we're going to go pick up here in the middle of June, I'm going to set up the hive again with a electric bear fence around it. So hopefully we'll be able to do the honeybee thing without an absolute total loss of everything, because we might as well have taken $250 from our original bee box and just our package of bees and just crumbled it up and thrown it right in the trash, because that's exactly what happened with that. So yeah, but that was crazy, because Jeremy's been talking about bears here for the entire time I've lived here. He's like, yeah, I don't want to go camping because there's bears out. And I was like, I have never seen a bear here. I've seen every other type of animal. I've never seen a bear. Well, apparently they're here. They are very much here. It was quite surprising. So yeah, that's the bear story. So I found out exactly how rural the area of Wisconsin is that we live in. Way different from Southern California or even Norfolk, Virginia, for that matter.
We caught a coyote on our camera the other night.
Nice.
Yeah. That was a first. Waiting for them bears to show up.
I saw a deer that was eyeballing me while I was riding around on my lawnmower today.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's gonna be a showdown.
Yeah. We'll get stomped out by a big old doe.
So
I'm tired, dude.
So, well, let's mix a little bit of infinite rabbit hole topics in there before we call it a night. As of right now, I'm doing research on the Malmstrom Air Force Base nuclear UFO incident of 67. Incredible stuff. One of the books that's heavily referred to in the sources that I have right now is a book by Robert Hastings called UFOs and Nukes. Look at this thing. Look at that thing.
Bet that thing's filled with words.
I bet it's filled with psyops.
Oh, no, not by Robert.
Psyops.
I doubt. Well, maybe some of them. But
Literally, there's 3 words on the cover. 2 of those words are psyops.
That's right. This is the guy that doesn't believe in nukes. But anyways. Damn, this guy's got jokes today. He's got jokes and he doesn't have jokes. He's got like jokes and not jokes.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's not though.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, got some really interesting stuff that we'll talk about later on down the road. But some of the stories that have to do with nukes. Do you know that Malmstrom isn't the only case in which nuclear ICBMs were shut off or were manipulated by a UFO in the United States? There was one 10 years later, almost exactly 10 years later in Ellsworth, South Dakota. Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, where something almost exactly the same happened. But instead of shutting down the ICBMs, they changed the launch codes on them. And then a similar situation happened in Russia, where instead of shutting down the nukes, they activated them. You want to take a guess as to where they were aimed at?
Elmwood.
The moon.
Not so specific. Not so Pacific. But
the Atlantic.
Not the Atlantic.
Iran.
Russia.
They were aimed
the moon
at
North
the United
Korea.
States. So,
oh man,
yeah, we almost got into a nuclear war because a UFO activated nuclear ICBMs in Russia.
Convenient.
Yeah, there was a.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of that time that those planes hit those buildings and they said it was some fucking dudes from a cave in Afghanistan, but it really wasn't.
who was it?
It's kind of like that.
Yeah, who was it?
I mean, some say it was just a fucking drone military aircraft, and others say there was no planes at all. But I don't know. I wasn't there.
I remember talking to a guy that said that it was like one of them TV images, but without the TV.
Yeah. Like almost like they green screened the fucking planes in there, but they took the buildings down with direct energy weapons or something.
Yeah, and then there wasn't any planes. It was like a TV screen, but without the screen.
But yeah, it's convenient that the UFOs would activate the missiles in Russia that were pointed at the U.S. It's almost like maybe we were in control of those UFOs and we needed a reason to go over there and spread some freedom in Russia.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know about that. The mutually insured destruction would have kicked into place.
Except nukes aren't real, but
Everyone knows all those all those submarines we have everywhere. Inside of the missile bays, it's actually just paper towel tubes painted to look like missiles.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have big bombs. Big bombs exist.
Big bombs exist.
Jeez.
Did you? I learned while doing all this research, because I like to go down all the different rabbit holes. Yes.
Ooh,
said
it.
He did the thing. He did
it.
I learned a lot about nuclear energy and how nuclear energy exists and how we harvest it. So I got into alpha, beta particles and gamma rays.
Ooh, you're gonna become the Hulk?
No, I don't know what that means.
All right, then. See, this is why I'm leaving. All my jokes fall flat with you because you don't watch entertainment like everyone else does.
I don't know.
This is the real reason, because I'm so sick of you not getting movie references.
He would actually be Amish if he didn't have this podcast.
I don't know what that means either.
I'm pretty sure this is like the only technology that you use is when we talk to each other once a week on here.
Yeah, I caught a lot of shit the other day at work. Somebody was like, "Hey man, I heard you read books," and I'm like, "I do," and they were like, "Man, I'm reading this book, and it's about this thing," and I was like, "Oh man, that's cool. I like reading books about things too," and they're like, "Man, you should read this book. Here, let me send you a link," and I was like, "Okay, cool," thinking it's gonna be like, a link on Amazon where I can buy the book at, but it's a link so that I can listen to it. And I'm like, "What's this shit?" And they're like, "Oh, so you can listen to it." And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like,
yes, the tale as old as time, books being read to you.
"Yeah, no." And there, and he's like, "But he's like, you actually read?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh," and he's like, I feel weird now." And I'm like, "Good."
I don't read because I don't know how to read. That's one thing I'm going to learn in my quest to better myself is how to read.
I'm trying to find this fucking thing. Where's the thing at, man?
Skeeter, last UFO days, he said that he would watch the Star Wars movies if we got 150 reviews on Spotify with an average of 4.8 stars, I think, something like that.
4.9.
4.9 stars. So unless that happens, he refuses to watch any of those movies, which is weird because it's all about aliens, which he's super big into.
Yeah, but
and conspiracies. It's literally about aliens and conspiracies and cryptid-like creatures. The whole fucking
politics.
Movie. Yep.
Yeah, but if I did watch it, what would anybody have any reason to hate me for?
There's so many other things you have.
I don't know, patchy beard, I guess.
Like, oh man, look at that guy's beard.
The 4 billion other cultural references that you have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. Any one of them.
Oh, here we go. A treaty was signed by the U.S. and the Soviet Union titled Agreement on Measures to Reduce the Risk of Outbreak of Nuclear War between the United States of America and the Soviet Union, Socialist Republics.
Shopping is hard, right? But I found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And he sends just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what works and send back the rest. It's so easy. Make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
The rural way of life is about making everyone feel at home. Tractor Supply chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to transform intelligent customer service. Together, we put the power of AI to work across 2,200 stores, keeping things running seamlessly inside, curbside, and countryside. This is elevated customer experience. This is Tractor Supply with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Grandpa's here!
Hank's always helping out, Grandpa style. Now he's treating his prostate cancer with help from Xtandi enzalutamide. Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Xtandi.com.
Or the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Article 3 of this treaty specifically states, quote, the parties undertake to notify each other immediately in the event of detection by missile warning systems of unidentified objects or in the event of signs of interference with these systems or with related communications facilities if such occurrences could create a risk of outbreak of nuclear war between the two countries. This was signed in September of 1971. Okay.
Interesting.
So, Jeff, what if their definition of nukes was just big, giant missiles? Then you couldn't say that nukes are fake.
See, this is really my argument for like half of the things that I say that you guys think are fucking crazy.
Well, that's because you're just crazy.
No, and when 9 times out of 10, when we take the time and we sit down and we drive into it, we come out the other side and you guys have a different understanding of what I'm trying to say. And what I'm trying to say is it's generally a semantic problem, right? So when they say it's nuclear bombs, that's the problem I have. That's why I said we do have big ass bombs. Do I think we could drop a Moab or a Moab plus on some shit and blow it the fuck up? Of course we can. Do we have what we would consider a nuclear bomb? I don't think we do. And the only reason is because there's never been like actual proof given to the public of these things. The only videos we have of nuclear bomb tests are all fake. They're all models. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that is wild.
Like the car appearing and disappearing next to the building that gets like incinerated. Yeah.
Right. And then there's just a whole slew of, I don't even know if you want to call it evidence, but, you know, interesting tidbits that make you wonder, like, why they would propagate that lie to the world. And it all kind of makes sense if you're deep enough down the rabbit hole.
For fear purposes?
Scarcity, fear, control, political, geopolitical fucking chessboard maneuvers, you know, like these types of things. But, you know, and I'm not even saying that, like, Putin or Trump necessarily know that the nukes don't exist. They probably think they have fucking nukes. But there's people out there that know that they don't.
Well, how do we have nuclear powered
plants? Nuclear power and nuclear bombs are two different things. They're not the same. They don't operate the same.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
Okay. Why not?
You explain it to me.
Well, you've got the burden of proof. You're the one saying that they don't operate the same.
He's saying that they do. So who really has the burden of proof?
You made the claim.
So, all right, I'm gonna teach you nuclear physics, I guess.
Tell me. Teach me.
I'm gonna fuck this up because it's been forever.
Because you're not a nuclear physicist.
I'm not, but I'm gonna do my best. Right. So, the best way to do this is to really just dummy it down Barney style for you. So radiation, what is it? Okay, getting to the definition of radiation, right? You need to first understand how you get radiation. And radioactivity comes from the offset energy coming from unstable atoms of certain elements. So an unstable element has to deal with the nucleus of certain atoms that have unbalanced neutrons and protons. So everyone knows the composition of an atom are neutrons, protons, and electrons. Neutrons are neutral, protons are positive, electrons are negative. The neutrons are in the middle, the nucleus is in the middle and consists of the protons and neutrons. And then you have the electrons that are in orbit around the nucleus with the positive charge. Now, the internal structure of the nucleus, if the protons and neutrons are not balanced. Now, it does not mean that they have the same number, because the protons and electrons need to have the same number, not the neutrons and protons. But when the atomic weight is off, they will be considered.
I agree with Jeff. It's all fake.
No. They will be. Forgive me, man. I don't have all the right terms and stuff, but it's they're imbalanced. They're not. Fuck, man. It's right on the tip of my tongue too. But anyways, unstable atoms, they don't like to be unstable, and it creates like a form of friction, and it comes off in energy. Okay, the energy that's created in unstable elements is actually more powerful, or it's hotter than anything created in a chemical reaction. You can Google this stuff, by the way.
I'm still nothing that you said thus far I disagree with. I just want you to know, but you still haven't gotten anywhere near why this means nuclear bombs exist.
Well, so basically, when one of these atoms creates so much of energy inside of it that it can expel little bits and pieces of it, and it can expel. It's actually funny that I was just talking about this, but it can expel radiation. Right, radiation comes in three major forms: alpha and beta particles, and gamma rays. Alpha and beta particles are physical, and where alpha is basically 2 neutrons and 2 protons, basically the same thing as a helium nucleus that gets expelled. These are the largest forms of radiation. They don't move very fast. They're the most harmful to a biological person if coming in contact with biological tissue or biological cells. But hitting the surface of your skin or like a t-shirt, you're not going to really cause too much harm from it. But the problem with actually any radiation at all, whether it be alpha particles, beta particles, or gamma rays, is that they're all ionized. Ionizing is the problem here. Now, if you remember when I was talking about the electromagnetic spectrum, when we were doing the Doppler effect explanation about the lights, the external lights on UFOs and everything, ionizing radiation comes from this side of the ultraviolet side of the electromagnetic spectrum. Now, ionizing or ionized radiation, when it comes in contact with atoms of biological cells, such as DNA or basically anything, these ionized cells are so energized that what it does is it kicks off electrons in orbit around the atoms that make the build around these biological structures, and creates what are they called? What are they called, man? What are they called? What are they called?
That? Say the last part again.
When an atom loses an electron, it's called a isotope. No, it's not called an isotope. What is it called?
I'm drawing a blank, brother.
Yeah, I'm gonna draw a blank too. Anyways, and it creates another form of imbalance, right? Which makes the atom unhappy. Basically, the gist is that by doing so, it can set off a chain reaction within cells that are touching each other down at the molecular level or at the atomic level, atomic, and can do some real damage to DNA structures and cause things such as cancers or other malfunctions. The worst of the three is gamma radiation because it basically can penetrate through everything because it's not a particle, it's an energy. But
can I stop you for a second?
I'm getting back to how this turns into weaponry because we're gonna take a step back to the nucleus of these atoms. Right now, when the nucleus is when it's not happy, right? It's unstable. You can manipulate it, right? Especially when you're working with highly ionized or high radiation materials such as radium or drawing more blanks here, man. Plutonium is another one. You can manipulate this by adding certain materials to it to help with a process called fission. Fission is the process of splitting the atom. Now, I'm sure everyone's heard that before, right? Now, it was just prior to the Manhattan Project when it was discovered that the energy expelled from an atom that gets split is way stronger than what is believed to be possible from such a small thing. Now, if we were just to watch energy split or being expelled from one singular atom from our viewpoint, it wouldn't be so impressive. But the sheer magnitude compared to the size of the atom is impressive. It's compounded in incredibly. So it's not necessarily that the one atom getting split inside of the atomic weapon that's causing this massive explosion. It's all of the atoms that are inside of this with the material that they're using to cause the fission reaction that's causing a chain reaction of fission, causing an atomic explosion. It's all of the atoms inside of the atomic bomb or the nuclear bomb or the hydrogen bomb, whichever evolution you want to go through, that's causing the explosion. It's absolutely possible because they don't add on to each other. They actually multiply. It's something we can't test it. We don't have the tools to be able to do it, but I mean, there's plenty of resources that you can watch.
The problem again that I have is more that it is a semantic issue, right? Again, I understand to a degree, probably as much as the rest of us, on how nuclear energy works, how a nuclear power plant works. And in fact, I do have a general understanding of how they say nuclear explosions and nuclear bombs work. You know, I've looked into this enough to have a standpoint to where I say that they're fucking fake, right? There's no process that I've seen. Nobody's ever explained how it is that I'll just read it to you verbatim here, right? This is fission, atomic bomb. Okay. The process releases a tremendous amount of energy as a small fraction of the mass of the nucleus is converted into energy.
Mm-hmm.
A chain reaction occurs as each fission event releases more neutrons, triggering additional fissions in a fraction of a second.
Yes. It's basically the smart way of saying what I said. Yeah.
Right. And how does that exponential growth of splitting of neutrons, creating more neutrons and more fission reactions, how does that taper off and end?
That's the whole thing, man, is it doesn't, right? I mean, when you get into like the like the atomic bombs that went off in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? You had reports of people's shadows being permanently imprinted into concrete slabs and stuff, right?
And what's interesting about those cases is that those cities have been rebuilt and people are living there. So the 1,000 years of dead land because of the radioactive materials that were fucking exploded there, what happened?
Well, I
It's
mean,
only been 80 years.
Well, you're talking about a rather small explosion. Oh, okay. So you're talking about how that chain reaction should still be going on? Is that what you're talking about?
No, but that question does remain. Like, where's the math to show that the reaction, the exponential growth of neutrons being split, creating more fission reactions? Where's the math showing how that tapers off and ends? Number one. And number two, why is it that the only two places that we've ever dropped nukes on don't have radioactive like lingering radioactive effects on those places?
Well, one, you would think that there absolutely would be. There's got to be some sort of trace radiation there. I doubt that there isn't.
Japan's a pretty advanced fucking place, and they're pretty strict on their health and safety standards. In fact, I'd argue it's probably safer in those respects than the United States. They built cities back in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah,
so that tells me that they dropped big fucking bombs that leveled those cities, but they were not radioactive. Now, I say that, but the initial explosions themselves are radioactive. From almost any dude, I could pick up a rock outside and it's radioactive. So, you have a mass energy event, just an explosion from a big fucking bomb. There will be trace amounts of radioactivity. So the
interwebs say Hiroshima is not radioactive today. The city's radiation levels are now nearly indistinguishable from the natural background radiation found worldwide. The bombs were detonated high above the ground, dispersing the most radioactive materials into the atmosphere, where they decayed rapidly.
Oh, okay. So there you go. Right. So
according to Mira Safety, MIRA,
it sounds like they were attempting to try to set off an EMP instead of trying to set off a ground burst. So this is something that we learn when we're trying to get our EAWS, right, Jake?
Mm-hmm.
Where we learn about high level explosions, or what do they call them?
I don't know. It's been too long.
It's
but
been
yeah,
so
when you're
fucking
going
long.
over the AOs stuff, and then you have to go through all the ordnance and things like that, different types of explosions and stuff.
They make you go over like the different altitudes of nuclear bomb explosions and what the outcomes of them are, and radiation dangers and such.
I believe that airburst ordnance is way more lethal than ground burst ordnance.
Yeah, but it has to do with
explosion downward.
Well, I think it has to do with the nuclear fallout. I think it has to do with the post-explosion stuff, and not necessarily due to the initial explosion.
Oh, I don't mean just like nuclear stuff. I mean just in general, like airburst ordnance is more devastating than ground burst because of physics or something. I don't know.
I guess since they trained you on these theoretical things in the military, then that must make them true.
Yes,
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and if you disagree, it's because you're an idiot and you're not getting your EAWS.
Yeah, you're never going to get your EAWS.
Yeah, you're never get your wings. Maybe your surface. Maybe.
Hey, listen, man. Maybe I'm just too jaded with the world, brother. But like I said, there's no proof or evidence, at least consumable by the public, of any of this. It's all just handed down to us, just like the space stuff, right?
And there's something to be said about that, but you're wrong. So
I think that there, I don't doubt that there's nuclear weapons. I think that there is, for sure. I think that it's stupid that we have them.
That's fair enough. We can agree to disagree. I mean,
I think one of the stupidest things ever created was nuclear deterrence. It's fucking dumb. Nuclear deterrence just creates a reason for everyone to have nukes on the planet.
Hey, man. They say that some of the craziest people in the world who want nothing more than to wipe the United States off the map have nukes.
That's literally the reason why nuclear deterrence is stupid.
Fucking use them.
No.
Obviously not, but like if North Korea, if Kim Jong-un has nukes and he's as crazy as they make him out to be, what the fuck? If Iran is as extreme as they're made out to be and they want us gone as bad as they do and they have nukes, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to defend the government because I know the government plays everybody. I am not a component.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss. Oof, like wind in your hair carefree. Oh, like using Clorox disinfecting all-purpose cleaner in the home carefree. Yes! Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox carefree. He's on a roll now. Spit toothpaste on the faucet. You got it. You got it. Peanut butter on the light switch. Oh, spritz, spritz. Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good. Okay, we're back. Use as directed.
This episode is brought to you by Principles. Are there limits to the U.S. government's debt growth? What will happen if the debts are not curtailed? What should policymakers or investors do? Those are urgent questions that legendary investor and New York Times bestselling author Ray Dalio addresses in his new book, How Countries Go Broke: The Big Cycle. The book comes out in June and is available for pre-order today, wherever books are sold.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
Of
being a bootlicker,
the innocent United States government. I do not at all believe that the United States government is innocent in any way, shape, or form. But I do have to say that just from the standpoint of a human being, that if they are evil, right, and they have that kind of mindset, and they have nukes, they would have to expect retaliation, and I think that's what they would fear, not necessarily that they, I'm sure if they didn't fear retaliation, they probably would.
Hey, maybe that's the case. Some of those cultures, they strap bombs and blow themselves up to take out a couple of American soldiers. So I don't see why the culture at large would be afraid of mutually assured destruction. It's mass martyrdom. If anything, they're going to be fucking worshipped for that in whatever heaven they think they're going to.
I mean, do they really want to die though? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, bro. I'm just saying, it's just like listen, I've been a part of the show long enough to know, for you guys to know, that my biggest problem is when people believe things that there's no way to verify, right? Outside of things of faith, for instance, right? Because that's like generally a positive thing. But when you start talking about fear-based things that you're just supposed to believe in, that's where I have a problem, and I put my foot down and I demand real evidence, not just some theoretical fucking equations handed to me from some dudes in a fucking lab coat. Right? I mean, listen, I hate to say it, I hate to be that guy, but there was a time when you guys didn't believe in chemtrails. Remember that? We had this conversation about chemtrails.
No.
I would say I didn't believe in chemtrails. I just never heard about chemtrails.
I didn't believe in the Navy putting up chemtrails.
That's true. That's still
because the Navy, we've worked on Navy aircraft, and I've never loaded chemtrails onto a Navy aircraft. I can tell you that right now.
I'm pretty sure we had like one of these back and forths about chemtrails, and that was the thing that spurred me to do the actual weather modification episode. That after the fact, since then, it seems, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like you guys are pretty on board with the fact that chemtrails are real.
Yes, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Is that a lot of times, the people making these arguments are fucking idiots.
Listen,
right?
I have no arguments with that, brother. I mean, listen, the people who get picked on to be showcased as like, here's a flat earther or here's a fucking whatever. They're always the stupidest person who has no idea how to articulate the argument, right?
I've seen people who will literally take a picture of a plane and zoom in on a PDOT probe and be like, that is where they're spraying
or the
chemtrails
static
on.
wicks.
Right.
It's like,
And
okay.
it's like, are you fucking kidding me, guys?
And those people aren't doing anything different than the people just handing down the psyops from on high. They're just being ignorant, right?
Oh, no.
And this is why you can do things like pull up actual government websites with actual government documents where they literally list off the planes, chemicals, dates, times, locations, and the thing that they're trying to manipulate. And it's like, I don't have to go on this tirade and point fucking pictures out and be like, look, there it is. I don't have to make up some crazy fucking theory about chemtrails. I could just show it to you. I could just show you the document. I could show you the bill that Florida just passed to ban weather modifications and ban all chemicals or substances being dispersed through aerosols via planes into the atmosphere. That's quoted in the bill that Florida just passed. So, and I know I'm going off on a different thing here, but the point I'm trying to make is, don't be so dug in on something that you don't have anything to back up other than the theories handed to you from on high. If there was a single video of a nuke going off, I'd be more inclined to believe that they exist, but there aren't any.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean,
how many nukes has the United States alone set off in testing?
Oh,
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure
zero.
I'm pretty sure the number. Well, the official. I'm pretty sure the number is like tens of thousands. Like a ridiculous number that we've set off just for testing purposes. Okay, where's the footage? Where's the fucking radioactive fallout from tens of thousands of nukes over the last 60 or 70 years? Where's all of those things that they talk about? Nukes could wipe out the world, man. If Russia launched its 5,000, 7,000 nukes, oh man, we launch our 7,000, we're all fucking dead. Okay, well, we have launched, I don't know, let me look up the exact number for you, but it's an insane number. Okay?
No, I mean, there's all kinds of treaties that are preventing multiple nations from testing nuclear weaponry right now. I know that. But as much has been tested throughout history, no idea.
The United States has conducted, okay, so I was a little off. The United States has conducted 1,054 nuclear tests from July 1945 to September of 1992. So just from 45 to 92, they tested over 1,000. Where's the footage?
45 makes sense. 92, you said? They tested in 92?
All that they've done 1,000 tests between the years 1945 to 1992.
Do they have a number of how many they launched at Bikini Atoll alone?
These tests involved at least 1,149 nuclear devices and were primarily conducted at the Nevada test site, the Pacific Proving Grounds, which is Bikini and Eniwetok atolls, the atoll islands, and other locations like Alaska, Colorado, Mississippi, and New Mexico. Blah blah blah. Yeah, they've tested them all over the fucking place. But again, where's the video? Where's the fallout? Where's the aftermath? Like, where's all the shit that they fearmonger us with? We've literally bombed ourselves 1,149 times. So, oops.
That's one of the better arguments I've heard. But so I'd be more worried about the ones over land, for sure. But that is one of the better arguments. It is. You have to look at the population density of the areas. You have to look at and see if any of those areas are, off limits right now.
Apparently, Bikini Atoll is still radioactive, but it gets frequented by eco-tourists and divers and water sport enthusiasts.
Oops.
Doesn't make a lot of sense. I agree. Whitney says, maybe that's why I speak funny. It's been nuked too many times.
Looks like I might have pissed somebody off. Let's thank him for his service, everyone.
Yeah, thank him for his service.
T and Linda.
Whose service are we thinking?
I don't know.
I think that was in reference to Jeff talking about them detonating themselves to kill a couple troops, a couple soldiers. So thank you for your service, Jeff. Thank you for your service on Arma.
Sorry, it's taking me a second to catch up with all these comments. I see that I was catching a lot of shit for not watching movies again. That's good.
Yep.
Danny's here. What's up, Danny?
What up, bud? And goodbye for the last time ever. Unless I pop into Shadowban from time to time.
Bam.
But not this show, though.
Yeah, not this one.
Not this one.
Not this one. Never again.
This show's boring.
Yeah,
I'm too used to it.
So boring.
I know all the arguments Jeremy's going to make.
That's right. He knows them all. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that harnessing nuclear energy for the sake of weaponry is definitely possible. And I think it's not just possible. I think it's been done. Testing, I can see them lying about that, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that nuclear weapons don't exist. I can also see them lying about the numbers that we have. I think the most we had at one point was like 18,000 or something along those lines. 18,000 warheads.
Now we're down to like 1,732 or something like that.
Yeah, we had gone through a couple of rounds of treaties with Russia where we were reducing them every couple of years. That was also a kind of a funny thing too. We were like self-imposed and self-moderated things. Like we weren't inspecting each other or anything like that. We were just like being like, yeah, man, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
there's a lot of funny business that's happened over the last 80 years with, geopolitics and especially when you talk about like the mutually assured destruction and just the way that that's played with, treaties being signed and there's just a lot of funny shit that's happened because of that, right? And then if you think about the timing of it, right? Like, okay, you could make the argument, World War II, it was the whole world was fucking crumbling and like just it was chaos and we had to come up with this super weapon in order to end the war, right? You can make that argument, and I understand that, right? But you can make the same argument to say, hey, look, we have to make this war end. We have to make everybody think we have this fucking super weapon.
I got a really good subject for us to talk about next time. Jeffrey.
It's almost just convenient, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, right? It's convenient that, we defeated the Germans in Europe and we disseminate the German scientists between us and the Soviet Union, right? That wasn't the end of the war. There was still the Asian theater, right? Mm-hmm. We were still in Japan and Okinawa and all these places, and we were still having dudes getting slaughtered. And there was no end in sight for that. That part of the conflict, they had no idea what the fuck they were going to do because we couldn't even take one island efficiently. It was taking weeks and weeks and weeks to take an island out in the middle of the Pacific. So going to the Japanese mainland, dude, like they had no end in sight for this thing. So the only thing that they could do was scare the whole world and say, bro, we could fuck everybody up with one flip of a button. Watch. And they just blew up 2 cities. And they were like, yeah, see, this is this new fucking magic technology. Nuclear bombs. And everybody's like, oh.
Well, those were atomic bombs.
Atomic bombs, whatever. Okay. But
and since then, it's evolved to hydrogen and then now nuclear.
Right.
So,
and listen, I don't think, I do think that you can probably do things with some of these elements and create bigger and bigger bombs, right? It's chemistry. Again, it's a semantic argument. I don't think when you say nuclear bombs, like there's an image that gets produced in everybody's mind, right? And that image is huge explosion that wipes out the
big
whole
old
city,
mushroom.
Big old mushroom cloud, those things are probably legit, but then the radioactive fallout and everybody dying of cancer for the next 1,000 years, and you're gonna have 3 arms growing, and it's like, it's not just blowing up your city, but it's literally laying waste to the land, and no generation after that will be able to move in. That's the part that I have a problem with, because we've done it apparently twice. Not well, unless you want to count the 1,140 whatever it was that we've dropped on ourselves, plus however many Russia's dropped on themselves, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't see that radioactive fallout. Maybe it's more of an argument, is radioactive fallout dangerous, right? What is that guy that used to eat uranium? He used to go on a tour around the United States and you eat uranium, trying to prove to the world that it wasn't dangerous, right? And the guy lived to be like 100 fucking years old.
Oh,
I've never heard of that, but that
Whatever
sounds
happened to
really
Fukushima?
stupid.
You guys remember Fukushima?
Fukushima's still not good.
Is it?
Yeah, Fukushima's where the tsunami hit northeastern Japan, and what's the second part of that? The Fukushima something, but it was that nuclear power plant that expelled radioactive material all over, basically out into the waters that
into
drowned.
the Pacific Ocean. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the circulation in the Pacific Ocean was supposed to bring that radiation right over to California and the West Coast and all that. And I'm just wondering, like, that happened in 2011, bruh. So, like, are we just getting bombarded? Are we eating fish that's just totally fucking
probably
radiated and they're just not saying?
AI overview says radioactive water continues to leak out, leak at the Fukushima Dashi nuclear power plant.
Dashi, that's it. Dashi.
Right. And I would just
2011.
I would argue that piece of that article that you just read, that last little piece, is the PSYOP part. Radioactive materials are still leaking out at the Pacific. All right, bro.
See, I doubt it. I think radioactive material takes a long time to stabilize. Radioactive material can start off as uranium, and then through the process of radioactivity while it's trying to stabilize, it could literally change into other elements through the process of radioactivity, right? And it can change into other unstable elements all the way down until it's finally stable wherever it settles in. It could take a very, very long time, man. It's
not longer than 80 years, because Fukushima and Nagasaki are
it
still
can.
showing.
It just depends on what the original radioactive material was, and what they were like. If there was accelerants added to it, like if there was something added to it, like a nitrite added to it to help with the fission process. It depends. It depends on temperature, pressure. I mean, there's so many different variables to the equation that need to be considered to control these kinds of things. That's why, nuclear submarines need an entire staff of people in order to just monitor them. And they're the only rate in the entire Navy that's paid better than anybody else. People get paid really well to know how to maintain and monitor nuclear powered stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting that of all the probably tens of thousands of nuclear scientists that work on nuclear power plants, which I do think exist, I do think nuclear power exists. I just don't think they've ever found a way to weaponize it. But it's funny that those tens of thousands of nuclear scientists out there that all work on nuclear reactors, I'd be willing to bet that none of them know the first thing about making a nuclear bomb.
Well, nobody should know how to make a fucking nuclear bomb. That's the first thing, right? That should be top secret and shouldn't be leaked out of anywhere.
Sure. But my point in saying
the Manhattan Project was supposed to be something that was like the top secret of top secret. I mean, there was only, there was espionage involved in the leaking of Manhattan Project secrets to Russia.
My point in bringing that up was more so that the differences between nuclear energy and nuclear weapons are so there's such a gap there that like you could explain to me ad nauseum how nuclear energy and how radiation and all these different pieces work, but none of that really tells us how the nuclear bomb works.
But how far off is it from nuclear energy to nuclear weaponry? I mean, how far is that really different?
Far enough that the smartest people in the world who are nuclear scientists working at reactors have not the first idea how to make a nuclear bomb. That's how far off.
Who's to say that a nuclear reactor isn't a nuclear bomb?
I've never seen one explode.
Chernobyl
has.
Chernobyl didn't explode.
Well, it meltdown.
A meltdown, sure. And there was radioactive leakage, and they said that it was dangerous, and they evacuated the whole city. But people are there now. People are hanging out. People go on tours, and they fucking walk around Chernobyl. There's construction crews at Chernobyl. They did a whole ass documentary of them putting that fucking $1 billion situation over the top of it. You know, it's just like
they still have to monitor everything. They have to limit their time there. You know, it's still extremely dangerous to be there. There's still mutations going on with any biologics there. You know, I mean, there's some really strange things that occur there.
Sure, you know, and I'm not denying that, but you know, again, it didn't explode. There was no nuclear explosion. Even at Fukushima, no explosion. I mean, sure, there's like diesel generators that probably blew up or whatever the fuck, but you know, no nuclear explosions happened, and all the meltdowns. The only nuclear explosions that any of us have ever seen were fucking models, dude.
I don't know.
It's the same thing with space, man. Every picture you've seen of a planet was just fucking ones and zeros that an artist created, an artist.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
Demonic threat level increasing.
Hold the line!
All the power of hell cowering before one man.
id Software presents Doom, The Dark Ages. Available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Rated M for mature.
Get ready for Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, and Super Nintendo World. Now open at Universal Orlando Resort. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
Of the data strips, and then they presented that to you. Nobody here has ever seen a planet other than Earth.
I have a telescope. I've seen stuff. I've seen lights.
I've got nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Yeah, I'll milk you right now, Jeff. Bust them out.
Jeff, you've brought up some really good points on the show. Okay, man. I don't know about the nuclear one, because here's the thing, right? Is the most common radiation given off by the most powerfully radiated or radioactive materials are gamma rays. Okay, gamma rays themselves are a weapon. If we can harness it and use it as a tool, it is a weapon. Going back to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, back when it was just the atomic bomb, these were strong enough to imprint shadows onto concrete from the images of the people standing in front of us at concrete, right? The shadows were cast on it from the how bright the blast was from these gamma rays. Now, not necessarily that it was visually bright, because gamma rays technically can't be seen by the naked eye because they're so far past the ultraviolet side of the electromagnetic spectrum, but they still are able to imprint a shadow of a human being onto concrete. There were reports of women wearing kimonos where they had beautiful flower dresses or flower prints on them with white silk flowers on black silk kimonos, where the white flower parts were sunburnt or radiate, like the radiation burn on their bare skin, because the white was letting through most of the radiation, where the black was help shielding it. People's skin were melting off their face to where their skull was showing. Their jaws were exposed. I mean, it's the gamma radiation that was literally melting people's external bodies off of them. Gamma radiation, even in a meltdown situation, such as Fukushima and Chernobyl, can be weaponized, right? If you mix it with a typical explosion, like what you were talking about, right? If you somehow are able to concoct a hybrid bomb of gamma rays and a nice big explosion, right? You can weaponize that, man. And even if the explosion isn't made by a chain reaction caused by splitting atoms, like how we outlined earlier, and it's just made by just a strong explosive whatever.
There are examples of that, though, right? Like, as you're saying this, I'm looking up other examples other than Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where there's been quote unquote shadows of people burned into the ground or burned into the environment.
Volcanoes will do it. Yeah.
Listen, the fire bombings in Dresden, there was reports of this. Okay, so there are things other than the radiation that could cause this type of thing to happen. So again, big ass fucking bombs exist. And did they drop those? Yes. Did those big ass bombs burn at like the surface of the sun and incinerate people so quickly that it fucking imprinted silhouettes of them onto the surrounding environment? Yeah. And it happened 1,000 years ago too, when Vesuvius erupted, right?
Yeah, but that's natural. We're talking about man-made.
Sure.
Show me other man-made examples of this. What's Dresden?
Fire bombings of Dresden in World War II. Some of those fires burned at over 1,000 degrees and it caused the same effect. It was burning. It was burnt. Let me find it.
So that means it would have had to have been a metallic burn. What were the materials?
Allied fire bombing of Dresden, February 1945, and Tokyo in March 1945 created firestorms with temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees centigrade. In Dresden, incendiary bombs caused asphalt to melt, and in Tokyo, wooden structures were incinerated. Some reports describe burn marks or silhouettes on walls where people shielded surfaces from heat and flames.
So I'm curious. What was the material that was burned? What was exploded? It had to have been metallic, because organic material does not burn that hot. It has to be dissimilar metals.
Allied firebombing of Dresden. In Dresden, incendiary bombs caused asphalt to melt. And in Tokyo, wooden structures were incinerated. Some reports describe burn marks or silhouettes on walls where people shielded surfaces from heat or flames. So this doesn't specifically break down what was burning at those high heats, but I mean, look up what were the bombs that they were using to firebomb Dresden. What were those made out of? Were those nuclear? Or were they just fucking hot ass bombs and they were burning the surrounding environment, creating 1,000 degree centigrade fires?
Tell them about them hot bombs, Jeff.
Lightning strikes. Here's another one. Lightning strikes have done this.
Lightning strikes are also natural.
Chemical explosions with intense flash have done
that. Thermite, magnesium, white phosphorus, those are all within incendiary bombs.
Sure.
All metallic. All can be unstable.
Again, I'm not disagreeing with that part. See, this is where I think we're talking past each other, right?
Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that they could have indirectly have made a small radioactive bomb without knowing it. especially if they were using a phosphorus.
Sure, they could have.
Let's see. Okay, no, these would have just been high temperature chemicals.
Gotcha, bitch.
Incendiary bombs use chemical and metallic substances: thermite, napalm, phosphorus, magnesium, burning at high temperatures to ignite targets. They rely on chemical reactions for their destructive power. Okay, so there is no nuclear element to those whatsoever.
You know, there's also gamma ray direct energy weapons.
Gamma ray is, yes.
So you could theoretically, I've never seen one of these. I don't know if they exist, but theoretically there's gamma ray laser weapons, direct energy weapons. So, I mean, you could potentially do this that way as well. If I fucking fry your ass with a gamma ray laser, it's probably going to burn a silhouette of your ass on the concrete.
Well, do you know how you create gamma rays? Like, how do you specifically create them?
No, I don't.
They're high energy electromagnetic radiation. That is the definition of a gamma ray. That is how gamma rays are produced. Here, I'll Google it.
I don't think you're wrong. I believe you.
They can be produced by radioactive decay, nuclear reactions, particle accelerators, annihilation events, astrophysical processes, and that's it. That's all I got. Astrophysical supernova, black hole activity, neutron star collisions, annihilation events.
What I also find interesting, this is a little bit of a little off topic, I guess. Not really, kind of. People are quick to say, they're quick to laugh when I say nukes are fake, right? And they'll give me the whole, radiation's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as I say 5G's dangerous, they're like, no, that's not dangerous. But
5G is dangerous.
But you're getting hit. You're getting hit with non-ionized radiation and ionized radiation from 5G, from millimeter waves. So if you believe that nukes are real, and if you believe that there's a radioactive danger from that, or just a danger from radioactivity in general, I guess, then you should also believe that 5G is dangerous.
I believe 5G is dangerous.
I'm sure. I think you do. I don't think that's one that we would have to debate on.
No.
5G is a myth, and it's not dangerous because it's fake.
A lot of milking Jeff conversation going on in the chat.
Yeah, and you know what? They'll have to stay after the show to find out exactly what I mean by that.
Oh, look, the Moore is here. Somebody was going to back me up for once. Radioactive means radiation. Radiation comes from all explosives, right? This is what I was saying earlier, bro. Like, I could go pick a rock up from outside, and, like, it's radioactive to a degree. I'm radioactive to a degree. Everything is radioactive to a degree. The bigger your fucking bomb is, the more radioactive it's probably going to be. Now, does that mean that the bomb itself, the nuclear, the fission explosion is creating this nuclear fallout that's fucking detrimental to all society? I don't think so. It's a fear op, bro.
Radiation is the term used for the expulsion of particles or energy from unstable atoms. The radiation itself is very harmful, especially when it's ionized. Ionized radiation expels electrons from the structure of atoms, causing those to be unstable. Depending on what those atoms are a structure of, because atoms are building blocks of many different structures, biological structures, it could be detrimental, especially when you're talking about DNA strands. Radiation is very harmful, especially ionizing radiation. There's a lot of experiments with ionizing radiation. Google it, Jeff.
What am I Googling?
I don't know. Yeah, I saw you pull out your phone, man.
I'm interacting with the chat, bro. They're bored.
Oh, are you? Well, it is 9:40. Jacob.
Yep.
I think it's time for your final goodbye, buddy.
Oh man. Well, we tricked you. It's not just a goodbye for me. It's a goodbye for the show. It's dead. So
That's not true.
Get out of here now. Go on, get. We don't want you anymore. We don't love you. Go on, beat it. It's been fun. It's been real. It's been real fun at times. Yeah. Moving on to the next thing. Not a goodbye forever, but certainly for now. I just got to get my priorities together and get my life back on track because I'm just kind of falling apart at the seams. And, it's just something I got to do for myself, for my wife, and mostly for myself. So I'm going to skedaddle then.
All right, buddy. Well, Best of luck to you, man. And thank you for starting the Infinite Rabbit Hole with me. That's always been appreciated, always will be.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
And
I'm going to burn all of my Infinite Rabbit Hole stuff as soon as I get off of here. So this, and then this awesome shirt that I did, burning it all. So I don't have to look at it anymore and feel sad.
It's probably true. He probably will do that. And
no, I spent too much money on these shirts. I'm staving them.
He's probably going to post pictures all over the Facebook.
Yeah. It's a pile of burning shirts.
All right. Jeffrey, you got any final words?
Jake, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just parroting the same thing. Yeah, I'll come hang out in Shadowban. You just got to send me an invite. Tell me what you and Creamer chatting about, and I'll come over and gaslight you there. It'll be fun.
Yeah, bro. I love it.
Then I'll get a fly to Florida and get that milk from you.
Dear God.
I'll be here.
Salt milk, Jeff.
Yeah.
He's going to have a bag of almonds.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that has been another episode of The Infinite Rabbit Hole. This has been Jake's last episode of The Infinite Rabbit Hole. If you are anybody but Jake, we'll see you next week where we're supposed to have a guest.
Who's
right
the guest?
here. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about things like that anymore.
Well, maybe I want to watch, but if you're not going to bring it up, then
You
maybe
just
I
have
won't.
to be surprised like everybody else now.
You don't
I
have
won't be-
time to
I-
watch, bro. You got Bible study at
That's
8,
right.
bro.
I was about to say I will not be watching because I'll be involved in other things.
That's true. You can't even watch.
That's right. As it should be. Dead to me.
All right. Well, that's been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. I look forward to bringing a lot of new stuff in the next couple months. Until next time, travelers, it's been great. We'll see you next week, right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Forever.
Adios.
Crystal got in there that time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye.